All right, let's see if my fan keeps my computer from dying. All right, so new document. And I'm not sharing my screen yet. So share the other side this time. Yeah. Okay, so again, 2048 by 2048 should be fine. Again, the powers of 2 texture maps, and we'll call this image plane. And the name difference just from model sheets because it is called an image plane in the interface in Maya and in Blender. There's actually the interface in the software called image plane as opposed to model sheet. So otherwise, I would just call these model. I've been most of the semester just calling them model sheets. And if you're making a digital model sheet, put it on the medium gray and make sure I save as I go this time. I'm so glad the class doesn't end the meeting when stuff like that happens. Okay, at least I got that zoom setting correct. Okay, so image plane leaf glider. Here we go, desktop. And break that out separately. And Control H again hides and unhides. Control K goes to your preference shortcut key. And inside the preference under the grid slices, since we're using powers of 2, you can go 512 subdivided by 4. Hit OK, and that should give you a nice, easy to use grid for all of your image plane model sheets for digital settings. 2048, 512 subdivision by 4 on the grid. Control H will hide and unhide. Control R will bring up your ruler. Go to your move tool V. All of the tools, by the way, if you hover over the top, it gives you a shortcut. So M for marquee, L for lasso. And a lot of this is in that one of the first videos from the beginning of the semester. You go back to the 2D Photoshop intensive. If any of you are banging through that here, the last day of class is a good video to throw on. Their little 30-minute clip when I go through all the shortcut keys in Photoshop is pretty helpful. So inside of this one, Control Shift N, new layer. And inside the new layer, I'm going to go to my gradient tool. It's a little different than what I had last time. And we'll just do a basics on here. And instead of going from black to white, I'm going to go into the color picker, and we're going to go from a dark gray, make sure I desaturate 100%, no saturation. And on the lighter version here, it's white, a little bit lighter gray. Hit OK. Go to the middle here. As I click and drag, if I want this to snap in a perpendicular, I hold down Shift and go from top to bottom, and then Control H. So this little gradient gray, you'll see this is defaulted in ZBrush as well. It's just kind of easier on the eyes. A little bit of gradient gives you a little bit of depth perception or top down, bottom up on a model where you're working. Just a preference. Good working habits. So I can go over to this character here now. I go to my lasso tool, L. If I need to switch which type of lasso tool, Shift L will filter through the different lasso types. Go in here and grab the leaf glider top down. Make sure I have a feather value on here. Just be real careful. Feather values on your lasso. You can lose some information. Control C, copy. Go back over here. Hide my grid for a moment. Control H again, and then Control V, paste it over. And then the main layer types to know inside of Photoshop. What's going on here? Photoshop, what are you doing? It's like locked in something. One of those days. Okay. Oh, it keeps hiding stuff behind my zoom interface. There we go. So no color balance needed. Okay, so multiply will darken the darks and make the whites invisible. Right. So multiply is your main friend when you're bringing over a drawing on white and you just want the line work. You'll use multiply. Multiply is also one of the most common used layer blending options for texture mapping and doing a lot of other things. If that gray is too dark, click on the layer. Control U is your hue saturation value, and I can just lighten that up. lighten up the whole layer so that it, yeah, so yeah, I picked too dark of a gray value for, at least for my monitor, for what I can see. Oh, did I hit cancel on accident? Okay, there we go. And then go back to the top here, and you'll see that works pretty good. Again, this is a design document. This is a construction, engineering, whatever. I'm not worried about this being a beautiful piece of art. But as you expand on the character, if I was to go grab these different poses, any blow ups or zoom ups I have on constructive solid shapes, like right here on this little leaping motion, I had the wings become very parachute-like and curved in the movement. And there's some construction lines on the thickness. You see the little bobbles at the bottom, like a tree frog or gecko's toes. So it's up to you. And Fred took this and really ran with it. We had a brief conversation that was, hey, do some breakaways, do some drawings to support the image plane around what you need, information you need to better model the pieces that you're working on. It's especially important for costume design or creatures that maybe have other portions or appendages that, like big feathers or a big ruffly mane that hides a lot of the anatomy. This character is pretty straightforward though. And for the time for just getting to the modeling techniques, I'm not going to do anything fancy, but I leave space around the model sheet for that purpose, or you can just expand the canvas later. So let's just get straight to it though. So I'm going to go to this here, hit Control T. That's your universal transform shortcut. Everyone should know. You can right click and Control T. You can do all your scale, distorts, perspective, warps, rotate, flips, all through one interface through the free transform tool. Escape out of that. Escape out of that again. Hit Control H, and now I can use the move tool, and I can try and snap this dead center where I want it, and then I zoom in here, and you really want to get the nose. Hopefully your drawing was symmetrical. I could see that I took the drawing and I mirrored it over, so I can go to the move tool and just use my arrow keys and make sure that that little dot right there in the center is centered up, and right perfectly on the tip of the tail, centered up. So pretty good. Doesn't need to be perfect, but don't be off too much. You do this stuff. The way the limbs are in this, I maybe would have drawn the arms maybe out a little more relaxed pose than in at the extreme bend. So that's my error when I originally drew this. I was doing armature with the wire, and this was like a really super old drawing. It's like over 10 years old. So just know that I would have rather had the spread of the limbs be a little bit more relaxed in a kind of a mid pose, so it could equally bend 50-50 from each angle at the joint. So I'm just going to go with it for what I have here for now. Okay, save again, back it up, file, save as, recommend just a regular old JPEG for this kind of stuff. So image plane leak lighter. And if you're doing top and side, I can do underscore top or underscore side view, or bottom or back. Okay, so pretty much ready to go. For the face, I could go into this one. Maybe I do want a little bit more information. So I'm going to take this image here, and I'm going to grab, let's see which ones are in here. A few of them. Yeah, just going to grab, so grabbing multiple layers, grab one, hold down shift, grab the whole thing, Control G to group them together. Let's go. There it goes. All right. If I want to replicate that whole group, I just drag that into a new layer icon. It recreates the whole group. I want to collapse the group, right click, merge the group. So now all those different layers are now one single image I can grab from. So I'm going to go to my lasso tool. I'm going to grab this little leaping motion, which has a lot of information. This is a key storytelling pose. Control C, come over here, Control V, bring it over, move it off to the side, come back over here. This kind of foreshortened image kind of jumping towards us also has a lot of information that could be useful. So Control C, come over here, Control V. I want to flip it over and have it in the corner, Control T, right click, flip horizontal. So feel free to arrange these pieces as needed, enter. If I want the move tool to automatically go to a layer to select, I go up here, auto select. And that automatically will go to the layer that piece is on, move it over. Okay, it should be good to go. Switch it to multiply. Go to this other one, switch it to, switch it to multiply. If it still has a lot of gradient on there, it's bugging me a little. Control M for multiply, or Control L. Be layers. It's locked in here. Sometimes you have to hit escape first. Control L. There we go. And it keeps hiding this behind my zoom interface. There we go. So I can get rid of those lower gradients just to kind of clean it up a little bit. There we go. And I can always go in here and erase away some of this with a soft airbrush eraser. Good to go. One more. Just want the climbing, or no, I wanted the head here. Let's get the head. Since it's trying to do like a cute Pixar type character. Control V, bring it over. I'll leave that blown up here. Put it on multiply. If I need it to be darker, just replicate the layer. To replicate a layer, hit Control J. That will duplicate the layer. One layer that's the same multiplied into a layer below it will make it even darker. If I want to merge those two together, I go to the one above it, hit Control E. That will drop the layer into the layer below it, Control E. So of the shortcut keys, there's only about 12. So I know it's probably a lot for some of you, but if you watch the video on the YouTube channel and you rewatch this, there's only 12 shortcut keys in Photoshop you have to write down to do this quickly. And it'll save you whenever you're processing 2D images for your portfolio to bring them in, to bring them into 3D, whatever. It's all those shortcut keys I think are invaluable. So that one's pretty good to go. Control U to get rid of any color. I want to make it black and white. Control U, desaturate. Hue, saturation, lightness, super useful shortcut. And up here, Control U, drop it over, and then I can go to the main one as well. Control U and make that black and white as well. I kind of like the blue and red animation pencils on there. Control J to replicate it, to see what it does. 2 layers of the same image, both multiplied, will really darken them up a lot. I like that. So I'm going to go to the one above it, Control E, drop it down. And that's pretty much it. That's your primer for making a good image plane or model sheet to be used in Maya or Blender. So save again, Control S. To save as a different file type, Control Shift S. Also the same keys in most 3D most software packages. JPEG, image plane leak glider, save. JPEG, good to go. And because my computer's acting really weird today, I'm going to close Photoshop as I go. No. Remember, all these image planes are in your out resources. So if you guys need these biped 2D image planes, you have access to them. Okay, so let's boot up Maya. First thing I'm going to do in Maya is create a project file system. So that way you have your pathing set up. That is the path where on the computer, when you go to open certain things or save certain things, it knows where to go to get that image plane file. So you always want to work within the project system in Maya. Whenever I'm lazy and I forget to, I always regret it. Just got to do it at the very beginning of the process. Any questions so far on the image plane model sheet design? A few of you did some beautiful ones already. Might be brand new for some of you. So if you want to give it a shot, you have time tonight and during Open Studio tomorrow, I can help you do that and you can get started and play with the Sculpt GL exercise. Okay, so I'm going to do a new project. And then let's see how many of these windows are going to open on the other side. Okay, so untitled, so file, set project. Go to my desktop and get a new project. We're going to call this Sleep Glider. Okay, set that project there. Create a default workspace. Yes. File, project window. And it then is going to create these default folders. And I would just, if you're brand new, I would just leave these. Scenes, assets, image, source images. There's like 10 or 12 of them. Just hit accept. Should be good to go. Do file, save as. It should save it into the scenes folder of the project folder we just set up. So file, save scene as, and I'll see right there on the path, desktop, leap glider / scenes. Those are the backslashes. So that did go to my scenes folder. So always double check. Sometimes you have to set the project twice, like a lot of the times, and it's something that messes new people up all the time. So we'll call this leap glider _mesh _01. Always use underscores, never use special characters. Don't use spaces, don't use dots when you're naming things. Save as. The other thing you could do, file, save as. You have two options in Maya. Maya ASCII or Maya binary. If it's Maya binary, it's only readable by machine binary code. If you save it as a Maya ASCII, you can open up them the Maya file in a notepad, and there's been times where you want to rescue a file. So go ahead and hit that, it's okay. And now we go into the front, side, and top view. This is going to be a top view model instead of a front view like I normally do for the biped. So inside this one, hit the space bar. It's going to full screen. I have my grids up here set up. So if I right click on the grid, click on that, grid options, we're working in centimeters. And so length and width, 200 centimeters, grid lines every 50 centimeters with subdivisions of, do subdivision 4. So maybe we don't need it quite that big. The average human height is 160 centimeters. Actually, that's not bad. Maybe we'll do it every 10. There we go. So 210 and 4 is what I'm using for this demo. I might change it, but this is to do a human-esque size. I usually have it set to 1,000 to do like a scene that's going to have like buildings and like multi-story, like something you want, like a building or a boat or a large object like large furniture, large exterior tree or something like that. Okay, hit apply and close. I use the this color palette too, the axis on ochre, light blue, and dark blue. All of these are personal preference, easy on the eyes. F will center screen, spacebar again. So whichever viewport you want, just hover over the top of it and hit spacebar and it'll full screen that one. So F, F, and F. Zoom in here, and in the top view, now I can go to view, image plane, import image. Before I do that though, let's go ahead and put the image inside the folder manually. So I'm going to go to the Maya project folder on my desktop, go to the leap glider. There it is, open it up, and it is going to be in source images. So in source images, I'm going to take the leap glider file that I just made on my desktop, image plane leap glider, there it is, and drag it in there. There it goes. And if I go in here to view, image plane, import image, there's the image plane leap glider. So it's part of the project, which is really nice. Hit open. There we go. And hit F again on the keyboard, that full screens it, F, F, F. So there we go. We've got a little, see how nice that blue shows up on screen in the gray? Easy to see. Easy to see what's going on. Okay, so here's the golden rule. All 8-sided cylinders. If you go to the biped recipe in the out folder, I believe the cylinder for the torso is 12-sided. So I'll have to double check my notes on that, or maybe if Lizea knows off the top of her head if I've done that right. I haven't worked in a top-down on a creature or organic in a while, so usually on a side view for a quadruped or on a front view on a biped. So it's a little odd. Go to your creation palette. I go creation, polygon primitives. You can do interactive creation, or you can go in here to the creation palette with the tool setting. Here's the tool setting in Maya. And you can manually say, okay, I want this to be 8-sided and height subdivisions 3, cap subdivision 1, and you can manually set the radius here. But I have it on create polygon primitive interactive creation. If I turn that off now and I hit the create tool, it's going to automatically create it at the center of the world for me right there. And you'll see the there we go. It looks like it didn't do it though. It didn't reset. Let's see here. Go to tool settings. create cylinder. There it is. It didn't remember the value, so let me try that again. I don't know what I did differently. Oh, axis divisions is right there. So 8-sided. Okay, height will go 20. Radius will go 4, and I hit on create to reply. There we go. A little bigger than we wanted. And shading, wireframe unshaded. So that's one 8-sided cylinder. The height divisions, I should have had 3 in there, so I hit apply again. There we go. And we want 1 at each joint. So let me do, for this little critter, we'll do 6. And I'll set these off to the side. Okay, so I have to kind of guesstimate this since I don't have the legs out in a T-pose. So I'm going to go to my rotate tool. And I'm going to rotate. You can go into the channel box and you can manually type in 90 degrees. And go to the move tool and scale it down. And if you want to scale on the 2 axes, you scale it here. That. And I'll bring it in. And I'll probably go back to Photoshop and just redraw the leg quickly, but I don't have time to do that during class. So here's the trick with the limbs. Okay, 8-sided cylinder, you want to all be quads. If I hit 3 on the keyboard, it rounds off, and you see right here where the triangles on the caps are. It creates a pucker. Right here, it creates a problem because there's triangles. They're not all quads. Quads subdivide. Quads is 4 sides. Triangles 3. So with 8 sides, though, if you go to the end cap, go to edge, you grab these diagonals 1 at a time with the Q with the select tool. Control Shift to add to selection, and then Control Backspace will delete without leaving anything behind. Go to the other cap, and now your cylinder shape is all quads. Control Backspace. This is super simple, but incredibly important, especially for beginners to know. Now, if I want to round this off myself a little bit, I can, but I'm not going to do that quite yet. Now, if I round it, if I hit 3 on the keyboard, you'll see it rounds nicer than when those triangles are there. And this will subdivide nicer in ZBrush. And when you go into your sculpting packages, it's all quads. Go back to 1 on the keyboard. So this is just a display. So 3 will round it off and subdivide it like times 3, just for display purposes. 1 will go back to the core low poly model. W is the move key, right click to object mode or to the sub component mode. So you can go edges, vertices, or faces. This is the parts of the component, or object is the overall piece. So I'm going to move this over to the side. In my outliner, I'm going to name this limb. And double click it, and let's name it limb stock. So I always put the underscore stock. When I'm building a model kit of pieces, you have your stock paw, your stock tail, your stock tongue, whatever body parts, like your little Frankenstein's workshop. Leave those, save those, and make sure you have them for future reference. It'll make modeling a lot faster for you. So I'll set it over there. Control D to duplicate. It automatically adds a next numerical value and makes a copy of it in the same shared space. So I can bring that over here. And to change the pivot point, if I want that pivot to be at the hip here, to change the pivot, I hold down D on the keyboard. D lets you move the pivot. I hold down D and then hold down V. At the same time, it turns into a circle. And you'll see the little magnet turns on. It's going to snap to a vertex. If I hold down D and X, we'll snap to a grid point. Really important to remember how to change pivots for any models you're going to use for animation or gaming. You got to move the pivot to the right location. So D and V, move the pivot to the end, and then let go. And now when I move this around, if I rotate it around, or if I scale it, it's going to scale it from that pivot point. So now I have this little bit more useful piece of geometry to play with here. A good rule of thumb, have all the quads be roughly even in terms of the ratio 1-to-1. If it gets bigger than 2-to-1 ratio, it's a little long. Maybe this could use more subdivisions, but I want to keep it as low as possible for now. And I can switch over to my top viewport here and just work in the top viewport. Bring it over here. And so I want 1 edge loop at each joint and 1 edge loop in between each joint. That's the minimal low poly model version you would do for the most part. So if I demonstrate this, X-ray mode is right up here. I'm sorry, isolate mode right next to that is X-ray. So you can see through. So this is how I usually work. What I recommend for everybody. Shading, wireframe on shaded, so you can see the wireframe nice and clearly in blue. And X-ray modes right here, so that you can see the model. Through the model, you can see the image plane. This is a good way to do your basic 3D modeling for anything you're making. Okay, hold on X and it'll snap automatically down to the grid. That puts it flat on the image plane. And then I can let go of X and bring that in over to the thigh here. And so it's going to get a little bit thinner as it goes. So if I go to vertex mode, grab the vertices, go to scale, what I can do is I can scale it down on this axis as it gets out to the knee area. So scale down a little bit there, go down one less, scale it down a little bit, whoops, scale down a little more. I'm constrained to just these two axes, so they're not moving side to side. A little more, go down. So I'm just kind of gradually decreasing the limbs so they get thinner at the wrist. Okay, so that's one limb. Again, I would do a really quick sketch redraw of these limbs out. So I'm just going to eyeball this for today. Take that limb and go to the end of it. You see this is a three digit. So this is a lot easier actually than the human hand. So what we're going to do is we're going to model that hand. We can't see through the image plane. Let me go ahead and close that. So what we can do is we can go to the image plane in the outliner, go over here to the alpha gain. This is in the attribute editor. And we can reduce the alpha gain on there. So that way you can see through the image plane. Should be able to. Yeah. So you can see through it to the other side. That just makes the image plane itself transparent. And sometimes I'll just use a plane from up here. Okay, so same thing, powers of 2. I hit F on the keyboard to recenter myself. Come over here to the end of the limb. And what I can do is hit Control D, duplicate, bring that over out of the way, right click, go to the faces, grab all those faces and delete them. And I'm just left with the cap. What's going to be the end here. And if I'm doing that as the hand, I can use D and then V again to snap the grid to that little wrist piece and hold down V to snap that. So the little hand's going to attach right to the end of the arm there. Okay, the main tools to use is the modeling kit is right up here. The very first icon, the very top right corner, show hide modeling toolkit. The modeling toolkit has the best of tools that you need to do most modeling. I'll just pull this tab out separately for it. Combine, separate, extrude, bevel, bridge, multi-cut, connect, target weld, quad draw. This is great. You have like 8 to 12 tools that you need to make anything. You don't have to go up here to mesh tools and there's 15 or so. Edit mesh, there's another 30 or 40. Add them up, you get about 70 tools. There's some of them that you will need to use later, but for the most part, you can get away with just using extrude, bridge, multi-cut, target weld, and connect. That's 6 tools you need to know to model anything. To do advanced quad draw, if you want to retopologize, take a mesh you made in a sculpting program like ZBrush or SculptGL, and then maybe it's millions of polygons, it's real messy, and you don't have the low poly cage. Quad draw, I'll have a separate video where you draw it out and make nice clean topology like what we're doing here. So for now, we're just going to use extrude. And extrude will switch to the tool, and this is going to pull polygons out from the entryway. And I'm looking at the hand there. So I have 2 and 2. So I'm going to do 1. And then if I want to go to the move tool, I can move, double check. And then if I hit it again, G will redo the last command that you did. G is a shortcut key to redo the last tool you just used. So you can go G, 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 and just redo extrude if you're doing a bunch of extrusions. on a model. Okay, that should be good to go. Switch to W. And now I'm going to do a pull for each finger. So 1 quad, 2 quads. Let's actually scale this down a little flatter for the hand. So the spatula of the hand, as we call it, is usually flatter. Whoops. Switch to R to scale. And maybe bring it out a little bit. So this is, I made a little spatula for the hand. And perhaps I would draw out the hand separately from the model. And here's the trick for digits. If you want an 8-sided cylinder, this is one of the critical moments in the biped recipe. If you want to keep your limbs, which includes your digits, your fingers, if you want a 4-sided, if you want an 8-sided cylinder for each of your fingers, you need to grab 2 quads. Because if you extrude 2 quads, you'll count the faces 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Oh, this one's going to have a 6-sided for the finger. That will give you a 6-sided cylinder for the finger, so you have a little bit smaller digits. So I'm going to grab those 2 and do it separately. So let me turn off this for just a moment and go to image plane and maybe reduce the alpha gain even more. Go. Okay, so grab 1 face, 2 face, and then extrude. Switch immediately to the move tool and pull that out. So this is 1 digit. As I pull it out, I'm going to move it over just a little bit and rotate it and scale it down just a little bit. So as it goes away from the main knuckle, it's going to get a little bit smaller. And I want to round this out a little bit. Now, before I go too far, I'm just going to make a little 6-sided cylinder. So I'm going to go back to my tool. You go click on the cylinder. Where's my little tools? Tool settings. Here we go. And let's see if it made. Oops, it made it already automatically. So let's go create polygon primitive cylinder. Pull up the settings box. There it is. So instead of an 8-sided one, this time I want it to be 6-sided. And instead of 6 height divisions, just need 3. And this can be really, really small. So this is going to be like 2 with a radius of 0.2 and hit apply. And at least it's a little bit closer to size as I bring it over. F to zoom in. There we go. There's my little finger. So 1 edge loop for each knuckle, keeping it as low poly as possible. If it's 6-sided instead of 8, I'm still keeping it powers of 2. I can go in here and I can remove some of the diagonals and keep this as a 4-sided shape as well. So I'll show you how to do that too. So let's rotate this around first. So I'm gonna go D and V. So I'm gonna grab that pivot, put it at the base of the knuckle, then E to rotate forward. There we go. And then W, bring it down. And I'm gonna position this finger right at the end of the palm that I just extruded from. And go to scale. And remember, scale on just the 2 axes. That's these little perpendicular controllers. It's going to scale just on those 2 and keep the length, as opposed to if I grab the center one, it's going to scale the whole thing. Go down and then bring it in, down and in. Looking pretty good. Go to W, and if I want to snap that up to the surface up here, D, and I can align it actually to that edge. Oops. Let's see if I snap. Let's go. Let's see. I'm going to rotate it a little bit. So I'm going to rotate it. I think that was 30 degrees. Yeah. There we go. So 6-sided shape, 30 degrees, that'll make it perfectly aligned to the palm. So there's 1 finger. Again, it's not perfect to the image plane. It's okay. I'm just getting a base cage set up with perfect topology. I can hit control. Actually, let me do the suction cup at the end of the finger first. So bring that up a little bit. It's not perfect. Please straight, it's okay. Grab the end faces here. So if I grab more than I need, hold control to take away and take away. That way I know I got just the end faces there, and extrude again. W, pull those extruded faces out. R to scale it out a little bit. I'm just making a little suction cup size. It's a little bulbous. See if I'm getting off center. Yeah, I'm getting off center. That's what happens when you move things off axis too early. And then extrude again, pull it out, R to scale it back down again. There we go. Let's get a little suction cup. Okay, go to edge and grab this 1, 2, 3, 4 on the end there. Make sure I didn't get anything on the backside on accident. I can isolate what I'm working on with this little isolate button, X-ray mode, control backspace deletes, and it's all quads again. This simple concept of deleting the diagonals on an 8-sided cylinder or 6-sided cylinder to keep all quads is vital to beginner 3D modelers. That way, when you're fighting a model and you have triangles and you're not sure like how to get rid of them, if you keep it clean with these cylinders, it works like a charm. Turn X-ray mode off, and then if I want to test it out, I go 3 to subdivide. You see it's a nice, clean, smooth, perfect subdivision on there. Back to 1. Okay, that finger's ready to go. So I'm just going to get rid of these spaces on the back, grab what I need, just drag the rectangle, grab more than I need, hold control, take away these ones. I know I got the end caps, delete, go back to the hand here. Maybe go to object mode for a moment and isolate it. Grab the faces here, 1 and 2, delete, grab these 2 faces, 1 and 2, extrude, pull it out, and scale it down. And you'll see what I'm going to do here for a second with the hand. Remember, we talked about not having parallel lines in any of the joints, so we're going to like move the arms around. We want to add the thumb in there as well. Let's add an edge loop here. So I'm going to go to edge mode, grab these edges here. This is the connect tool. It's going to connect in the center each of these edges all the way around. This is called an edge ring. Grab this edge and this edge and loop, ring it all the way around. The way to do that quickly is grab 1, hold control plus shift. You see the plus sign, and double click, and it automatically rings all the way around the model. Hit the connect tool 1 time, boom, right in dead center, hit enter. Now I have room to put the thumb coming out here. So for the thumb, we want the thumb, again, 6-sided shape is going to be able to connect into 2 quads. So I grab 2 quads, 1 and 2. That's my thumb connection. The thumb, it's important. The thumb comes off the lower half of the wrist. The thumb does not come straight out the side of the hand ever. Really easy concept to not know about, but once you know it, it's really important to make sure the thumb comes off the lower half of your edge loop. So this is your edge loop right here. This is your center line. So the thumb's got to come off the lower half here. It doesn't come off of these 2 quads right here. It comes off these 2 quads underneath the wrist, below the half line here, and inside the half line here, the palm. Okay. I'm almost done. And I do the torso and head, and this guy's good to go. And we're at 7:30, so we're doing good. Okay, grab these 2 surfaces here, and same thing, do a extrusion, switch over to W, pull that extrusion out. I can flatten it out with the scale. If you want to flatten this out quickly. Scale it in this way, scale it in that way. And then easy trick with the thumb, 45, 45, 45. Rotate it 45 degrees this way. Rotate it 45 degrees this way. Whoops. And then rotate it 45 degrees going out. And that is the relaxed hanging angle of the thumb. And I'm kind of giving them a humanistic or bipedal arms for now, but that's okay. There we go. So now I have this easy connection point to attach the thumb with. So I'm going to grab these faces here, 1 and 2, delete. And I'm going to round that off, but let me show you how to attach the fingers very, very easily. So I'm going to go out of isolation mode. I'm going to grab my finger, go to object mode. So I grab the whole thing, grab the finger and the limb. And here's the magic, folks. Isolate, grab that finger, bring it up into position. Maybe let's go into our other viewports and make sure that I didn't get too out of alignment. It's barely just out of alignment a little bit. In the top view, looks okay. Yeah, looks okay. Shading wireframe on shaded so I can see the blue lines stand out really cleanly. These quads are really long, so I want one edge loop has to have an edge loop to bend at a joint, right? If the thing's going to bend, there has to be at least one edge loop there. I also put one edge loop in between each of these. So what I'm going to do before I duplicate this finger, I'm going to grab these ones, hit connect one time, enter, grab these ones, G to redo last command. Whoop, did that work? I think it did not work. Okay. Enter, marquee drag, edge range, connect, enter. There we go. So this is the minimal cage, right? One edge loop at the joint, one edge loop in between each joint. That's as low poly as you want to get with a 6-sided shape. If you subdivide it, it multiplies it by 4, right? So when you start off super low poly, it makes UV mapping easier, it makes rigging easier. Everything's easier. You can always subdivide it to 10 million polygons if you want, but you can always go back down to that low poly model. And let me just make sure the end of the finger is all quads. See, it's all quads. Nice. Bring it around. Okay, good to go. So dominant finger, non-dominant finger. So double check on the image plane. Again here. So yeah, the middle one's the longest one. The outer one's quite a bit shorter. And the bulb's going to be a little bit bigger around. So let's grab those vertices as a group, switch to R, and let's puff them up. And then maybe grab just these ones and puff them up even more. It's still perfectly flat at the ends. Let's round that out. So let's grab these upper and lower ones here, and let's move them back a little bit. And that rounds it out a little bit. And that's about as round as you can get with this shape. Okay, so this is ready to rock and roll. Grab this one, control, let's scale it down. This is the non-dominant finger, and maybe keep it fatter. Control D, duplicate it, bring it over, E, rotate it out. Let's go to my top view part, it's like a little bit easier. Oh, is this the bottom? Oh, I was working upside down this whole time. Oh, crap. Yeah, that happens. Nobody saw that.
Easy fix, right? just flip it.
Yeah, easy fix. Okay, grab this one, Control D, bring it over to the wrist. Remember, so easy to do if you guys do it this way. 45, 45, 45 on the thumb. Beautiful, easy, elegant, works like a charm. Okay, you want to position the hands and fingers here, isolate selection, get rid of the image plane for a second. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to snap the vertices from the wrist. See, this is kind of jaggedy and weird. I'm going to snap them to this perfectly round cylinder. I'm going to snap these knuckles here to the perfectly round cylinder. And then the attachment points become perfect, which is what we want. So let's scale this up just a little bit. Here. Like that should be okay. Yep. Okay. So all the no internal faces, these caps are all open. I deleted the back faces. That's really easy for beginners and veterans alike to forget to delete these faces before you merge them. You have the internal faces. Happens all the time. Drives me nuts when I do it. Good to go. So I just go to my vertex one at a time, hold down the V key. Remember, V to snap to vertex, X to snap to grid. 2 shortcut keys to burn into your brain. V, snap, grab the next one. V, snap, V, whoops. Snap, snap. If it's off a little bit like this, you'll kind of just relax those. We'll actually use the relax key, but don't worry about it yet. You're just trying to get perfect topology first. Use your soft select and your move brush in ZBrush or your other app to do the fine tuning. Don't try and make it all perfect earlier. You'll drive yourself nuts and take forever. There we go. See that little zigzag will fix that. Okay, next one. Come to the top here. Grab this one. V, snap, snap, snap. Go to the webbing and the inside the fingers, V, snap. And this, if you watch the biped, if you look at the biped recipe doc, this is how I do the human hand, same thing. I call them the cigar fingers. And grab this little one in here. We can maybe move that one now. Bring the webbing in a little bit. Okay, keep going. V, snap. Now they're not welded together. The finger and the hand are still separate objects. We have to merge them together. But that's pretty easy peasy for any 3D modeler. If you've learned any packages, you can do that in Blender or Maya, no problem. Okay. Looks pretty freaking good. So let's fix this little webbing in the palm of the thumb. So I'm just gonna grab that and kind of relax that out in the side view. Grab this one here and relax that. Oops, can't do that yet because they're not merged together. So let's merge them all together first. So grab the one back here though, back to the wrist. Definitely. So let's grab this whole edge loop right here. Double click, automatically grabs the whole edge loop all the way around and slide it back. Voila. Perfect little grippy, froggy, whatever hand. Wrists on the insides, those faces have to go. Let's do that now. Delete these interior faces because that's got to pop into the end of the arm, right? Which, where'd my arm go? Yeah, same thing on the arm here. Let's grab those faces now. Interior faces, no. Delete. Okay, grab object mode. Let's grab the fingers and hands. So this limb I would save because the topology is perfect. It's all quads. I can subdivide these as I go. I can go in here now and go, okay, these are way too long. Let's go 1, 2, 3, 4. Let's grab those, go to the modeling toolkit and connect. There we go, and hit enter. There we go. That is now, I can reuse this arm. Any 3-fingered creature, I could put claws at the end of this. I can make it fatter, make it like a orangutan or a sloth. The quads are there. I can now take this and use the move brush and ZBrush and it'll subdivide perfectly and we can UV map it and everything, which is nice. Let's get rid of the interior faces here in the inside socket. Delete. Okay, this guy's good to go. We just need a torso. And yeah, it's upside down sided. Where's my little arrow? Oh, it was working upside down. All right, let's just flip that around real quick then. So I'm just going to grab object mode, go to E and whoa, not before I attach everything. Grab all these pieces here, go to object mode, grab your fingers, the wrist and the hand and everything, isolate, make sure you got everything just what you need. And that's where we have combined together. Now, if I smooth it, it's all going to smooth together. But these vertices are not welded together yet. So if I go to vertex mode, even though they're all one object now, where they connected together, there's 2 vertices sharing the same space in each of these positions. They're not welded yet. The way to do that is to grab all the shared space vertices, of the pieces that you just combined together. You want to weld them together. You grab all those guys together. And I don't think merge is on here. It should be, but this is one you have to go to the menu for, merge. And there's a threshold, like how far apart the vertices are where they'll merge together into a single vertex. Okay, so I hit apply. And now let's try this out again. I go to 3, rounds perfectly. Look at that, nice and smooth. Easy peasy. Test it out, go to each connection point one at a time, wiggle it, go to the thumb, give it a little wiggle. So if you click one time and there's 2 vertices there, it will only select one. So if you click one time and wiggle and they stay together, that means it successfully merged the vertices together. Watertight. Okay, now I can go back into, yeah, see my front's upside down. So go right side up, top view here, and we'll just go to the object mode, reconnect the center line back over here, and just whip that guy over to the other side. If I need to, I can just rotate manually 180 degrees. Boom, there we go. And actually needs to go 180 degrees this way too. Yeah, negative 180 minus 180. There we go. Again, I haven't measured this out completely, so I don't know for sure until I go back into Photoshop and draw that out. But for the speed, this is a modeling cleanliness basics tutorial. If you guys remember this, rewatch this video, all your models will be clean. You'll have no problem with any organic models to all your limbs. So attaching the 8-sided shape into 4 quads or attaching a 6-sided cylinder into 2 quads. That's the main takeaway. If you just remember that, you're golden. Like everything else would be hard surface stuff, like mechanical stuff, backpacks, whatever, belts, things like that you can do with a different technique. So this guy's good to go. I'll isolate one more time, take my pivot point, hold down the X key, snap it to, whoops, hold down D and X, snap it to the grid. Dang, what's going on here? Hold on. D and X, snap to grid. There we go. And now freeze and delete history. So freeze transforms, all these are going to be zeros. And then get rid of the history. See all this stuff right here in Maya, for those of you beginning in Maya, it remembers every command you do on a model. See all this split, polygon 9, 8, 7, delete component, blah, 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 blah. All that's in code and script and Mel script and Python. Delete history, all that's, now that's a clean piece of geometry. The center point, the pivots here, all that extra stuff is gone. I don't have to worry about that data coming over into Unreal Engine or another program down the pipeline. Okay, if I want to mirror this across, let's do the forelimb first. So I'm going to hit, I'm going to get this into position a little bit better into the rear end here. Control D, duplicate it, bring it up to the forearm, R, scale it down. If I want to just make the wrist area over here bigger, I can marquee drag down to the wrist. Right here, hold down the D and the V key. I can snap it to maybe, oh, hold on, I'll do that. Let me just bring this here and use the B key. B is soft select, is a tool that's really useful. I'll just get into soft select a little bit right here. Soft select makes a radial fall off for making things get bigger or smaller. So if I want to scale just the hand here, you see it's going to scale the hand from that pivot point. If I hit B key, it's going to scale with a gradient fall off. If I hit the B key middle mouse wheel, I can control the radius of that dynamically with the soft select key. Super useful. So I just want these vertices right here scaling from that origin point, and I want them to, if I hold down D, oops, it went up a little bit. Yeah, I gotta be careful here. I get too sloppy. Undo that. And I want to make sure that I'm scaling with the dynamic. Moving the pivot as you're scaling is kind of tricky. You're gonna be real careful. So there it goes. There's the radius, and now I can scale from there. And And maybe just the wrist there. Turn, if you hit B again, that's the hotkey to turn soft select on and off. But I don't want to get into anatomy right now. So I'm starting to already, just naturally, we do this as artists. Be careful you don't start modeling detail and just getting the quads down. I can do the sculpting in the sculpting app. Or if I had the image plane drawn right, I could move these to the image plane directly, but I'm kind of skipping that step today. Okay, it's good to go. There we go. Okay, I can grab both of these limbs, combine them together. Hold down D and X, move the pivot. Let's see, how do I reset the pivot? What's the shortcut for that? That's okay, I'll just put it there for now. Okay, oh yeah, freeze transform, delete history, freeze transform.
Are you trying to center the pivot?
No, I just want to reset the pivot so it's back aligned to the main. I'm just forgetting the hotkey. Do you remember where that to reset the pivot to the home origin? D reset. Oh, here it is. Reset pivot. There it is.
Okay. Also, what time is break?
Should be a 7:30, 7:45. Oh, 7:45. Yeah, I'm almost done. So let's do break from 8 to 8:30.
Okay, sounds
Yeah, that should be right on the money for us. Thank you for reminding me.
good.
Delete, see, duplicate specials, the next one. So you're gonna duplicate it. So we're gonna duplicate it across the X axis. So you want to do a -1 on the X scale. These boxes will always be XYZ or RGB. Whenever you see 3 boxes in Maya, they're always gonna go in sequence. So I'm gonna hit apply. There we go. It duplicates across. And uh-oh, my thumbs are going the wrong way. See that? The thumbs forward here and it goes backwards there. So let me undo that. What did I do? Oh, I had a -1. It will remember what you put in there last time too. There it goes. So make sure the thumb's in the right directions. Close that. Good to go. And do the body and the cylinder. So for the body, we're going to do a 12-sided cylinder this time. So again, create polygon primitive cylinder, pull up the settings key, and we can manually type in what we want. So this is going to be a 12-sided cylinder with, let's do at least 8 subdivisions. And with a radius of 1 and a height of 12. I'm just putting in something to start with, and I'm going to scale it to what I want. Close. Rotate 90 degrees. Go. There's the body. R to scale, scale just on the 2 axes. So get it right about there. There we go. I'll do a little bit of scaling here, but the main thing is that we have 4 quads to grab, to extrude, to attach. Remember I did this real easy connections here. From the finger to the hand, from the hand to the wrist. You just got to make sure that you have an 8-sided shape to snap to, and you're good to go on this one. Okay, double click. Bring that over, and I can grab these edge rings here, connect, enter W, and bring that over. And I just find 2 quads here on each one. I'm going to bring them in nice and tight. Double click an edge loop, an edge, double click it, it automatically does. So you need to loop that all the way around the whole model. Connect, enter. I'm just kind of doing the ones now where I know I need a little bit more. Just trying to even out these quads. We don't want any quad to be more than a 2-to-1 ratio is a good rule of thumb. Although none of these rules are absolute. Oops. Out to the tail. Okay, here we go. Double click, W to move, bring it in. And I don't want these to be, I have to check my frog reference. I don't think I want them completely out from the side if I want them down underneath. 2 quads here. So let's grab these here in object mode. Let's grab all of our pieces, isolate, and let's pull this up a little bit. And we want to pick just like we did with the thumb, maybe not completely underneath, but we want to have out the side here or from the other side. Let's see which one works better. So right here, we need 1, 2 connect. So that way this center line, this edge loop's this line here is gonna meet up with that line. You see that works easy. Same thing here, double click, there's an edge ring connect, enter. This edge loop here is gonna connect perfectly with these edge loops here. Like magic. And if I want to really align them, shading wireframe on shaded, so you can see I can align these almost perfectly before I even start moving stuff around. Oops. That's so close. It's gonna be fun. All right, good to go. So 4 quads makes a total of 8-sided shape. So let's go perfectly out the side here, or am I gonna go underneath? I'm gonna go out the side because it's the frogs, leap glider frogs. They're very flat. So are lizards. So 1, 2, whoops. If you have X-ray mode on, that really helps you not grab quads by accident. So I'm gonna just double check here, isolate, go to grab these. There we go. And let's just make sure I don't mess it up. So go underneath here, go to face mode and go 1, 2, 3, 4. That's the one I want. And then same thing over here, 1, 2, 3, 4. Grab extrude. And then if you do the extrude button initially and you pull, it should go off the face normals. That is the direction average of the faces is going to pull out the same on each side. Let's see if it does it. It does. Beautiful. That's what we want. Just out just a tiny bit, just enough so we have a bend, room to bend the limbs. And then scales right here, grab the box, and then the blue and scale should scale in the middle of all of them as well. And then after I do that, hit delete, get rid of the faces. Okay, go to the 750, doing good. We got 10 more minutes. Go to the front up here in the 4 limbs. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Same maneuver. Extrude. It's there. It's also over here in the modeling toolkit. And it's giving me the face normal direction. Yes, pull them out. Does them equal. Switch within the extrude from move to scale, which is the box. Click it 1 time. Grab the blue box in the middle, scale it together uniformly, and delete. Okay, we should have near perfect topology. We just got to add the tail on the face, and this thing is ready to sculpt and UV map. Back. Yeah, my voice would not have held up to doing this last week. It would have been bad news. For these guys here, I can go in and start scaling just a little bit. Again, not doing any crazy anatomy yet, but can do a little bit in here and just scale it down, or just a tiny bit from the thorax to the pelvis and then to the tail as they go out the bottom. Object mode, grab the limbs. And now we can do some diagonal angles down just a little bit. That. Bring them in a little bit more. Go to face mode. I want to just grab the individual faces, bring it in. Although if we look at the image plane, it's kind of a, frogs have really large, wide backsides, kind of like a Porsche. So I want to leave that. And now what I can do is freeze it again, delete the history, grab the side, delete, and then Control-Shift-D or duplicate special again. And that should get the angle that I just rotated. Now, before I do that, if I go edit, duplicate special, and I want to make an instance instead of a copy, and apply it. What's going to happen now is if I begin to make bends in this, so if I go in here to each of the limbs, grab the vertices, and let's say I want to put the elbow right here. What I would do is hold down hold down D and V, move that center to where I want the elbow to rotate from, like there. Or hold down D and align it to that edge, like that, and rotate it with B, with the soft select tool. So B is going to give me like a little fall off, and I'm using the middle mouse to make that happen. And now when I rotate it, voila, look at that. The whole arm's bending for me. And I can go in here and finesse some of these vertices here that are collapsing in just a little bit. So it's almost like a little auto rigger. Now, I don't want that much of a bend. I just want enough of a bend so that when you do the joints, if those you did the rigging class, you know, you want just a little bit of a bend so that the joint knows which direction to go. If that makes sense. Now I had 1, 2, 3, the forelimbs back here, and then I didn't do the forelimbs here. So this guy actually needs to scale in quite a bit. So I'm going to scale that in, back that off a bit, and let's bring that in. And now his fingers are going to get kind of squishy and compressed, but that's okay. We need the same thing back here. So this one's going to be much more complicated because it's the full frog and it's really bent. It has a strong bend to it. So for this one, I'm going to go to the tool, reset the pivot. There we go. Hold down D again, click on the button I want to align the pivot to. And then now I can just really subtly give it a rotate. And I think it's about 7:55. Okay, let me pause here for just a minute. I mean, I haven't saved anything, by the way. Bad, especially since I blue screened just before I started. Okay. Everybody's learning Maya or getting more experience with Maya, go to Window, Preferences, Settings and Preferences, pull up your preferences, and turn on under Settings, File, Projects, turn on your autosave. So if your computer crashes, autosave every 15 minutes, in intervals of every 15 minutes, up to a maximum of 20 files. So that's 4 intervals per hour. So that's 5 hours worth of work every 15 minutes is automatically backing up and saving for me into my autosaves folder in the project. Lifesaver, write it down, even if you're not going to get to it. You're working in Clay still, you're not doing Maya yet, just turn on autosave in Maya setting preferences. So that way you never lose your work more than, you know, I'm okay losing 15 minutes of work. I'm not okay losing 5 hours of work. And it'll do a prompt. It's kind of annoying. So just make sure that's turned on and it should go into the directory automatically save. So if I just do file save scene and then check my project folder, go to my desktop, go to our little leap glider folder, double check. Here's autosaves, the second folder right there, double check. And indeed, there is, I've been going every 15 minutes. I've been doing just under an hour. This whole thing's taken me 45 minutes, step by step. And you'll see leap glider mesh 01.0001, 0002, 0003. So it's saving auto backups for me. And it almost every project Maya crashes. Even at the simplest thing I'm doing, for some reason, whatever, you know, like we talked earlier about technology and just dealing with curveballs thrown at you, stuff's going to break and crash regularly. You just got to be zen with it, and autosave will just keep you from losing your mind. and stuff. So, okay, I'm going to pause, stop share, and oh. Okay, so we're going to continue with the organic character modeling, kind of core basics, need to know, best practices, however you want to turn this thing. The head, whenever I make a head, we use a sphere. So we go create, polygon primitives, and sphere. The sphere is a 12 axis division, so there's 12 slices in the pie with the height divisions of 8. So if I create this sphere like this is going to give me the minimum shape sphere with evenly distributed quads. That's going to make a perfect skull. It's going to make a perfect head. It's also the shape I use for eyeball, yada, yada. So 8-sided cylinders, 6-sided cylinders, 12-sided cylinders, and then a sphere with 12 pie shapes, axis divisions, and 8 height divisions. And aside from that, you could use a cube for the hand and the foot, which is in the biped recipe for doing a human specifically. But other than that, these are the core shapes these are the only shapes you need to make an organic character outside of hard surface and costume stuff. Same principle applies. So if I want to make the head out of this, I rotate this guy here 90 degrees. I go to the side, I have the pie wedges. I call this the helmet shape that we're going to make here, and go to the edge shape here. And you have a symmetry tool here, Object X. If you turn it on, whatever I do to one side is going to automatically do to the other. However, since I rotated it, I need to freeze its transforms and delete its history. And now it's going to do, let's do on the other side. Let's see, make sure I'm not upside down again. That would be pretty funny. Yeah, there we go. So freeze transform, delete history, Object X, right click, edges. And yeah, so if I grab one side, it's going to do the other side even. So this is how you make a basic face or head for most organic creatures. We want to make it all quads, so we're going to get rid of the pie wedges again. So I'm going to go over here and click one, just like we did with the torso, 2, 3, 4. I'm getting rid of the diagonals on both sides. So it selects both of them, and I hit the control backspace, which deletes and gets rid of any extra vertices in the middle. And then to keep this all quads, we're going to use a new tool. Okay, this tool is called the multi-cut tool. Multi-cut lets you cut across the surface, your edges. So you can see right here, if it's an 8-sided shape, if I cut an 8-sided shape in the middle, it makes 2 4-sided shapes, 2 quads. We're keeping it all clean quads. So I start off here. Blue, it'll snap to the vertex, click once. Go to the middle of the edge here. If I wanted to snap into the center, hold down Shift. It goes to the center, click again. And then continue to the other side, to the vertex, click again, and enter to end the cut. Go to the bottom, click once, hold down Shift, go to the center, click again. Go to the other side, to the vertex, till it snaps to blue, click again, hit enter. I now have a perfectly quadded sphere with no pie wedge triangles. Hit the 3 key, it rounds, nice and round. Beautiful. This makes a perfect skull shape. So I can go in here now, use the move tool with, we'll go to edge and W's to move. And so I can go in here to like the back of the cranium right here. And if I want to hit B, remember B is my soft select key. If I hold down B and middle mouse, it makes the radius bigger or smaller. So this works like the move tool in Move Brush in ZBrush. I could bring up the back of the skull out here. I go down here to the bottom wedge of the jaw, or these edges here, and I pull down. See how nice and clean that topology is for the head? I go to the sides of the helmets here. I grab these edges here, maybe go to vertex mode instead, and hit B to turn soft select on and off. Again, that's in the tool setting, soft select, on, off, B, on, off. Symmetries right here to do whatever I do to one side, I do to the other. Object X, X is your mirror left and right side usually. Okay, so I could bring in the side of the skull here. And then as I come to the front of the face over here, I can go to edge mode and maybe here in the cheek and the forehead region, hit B again, B and middle mouse to go bigger, smaller, and I can make this a little bit tighter to the temple region. Coming here to the front of the ear, right around here, and maybe go in a little bit more. So the front of the head, you want to have that oval shape. It's a little bit tighter here. I got my skull, right? All you character artists, get your skull. Back of the skull is bigger down here at the base. So I just look at my skull reference. I don't have the image playing in front of me. Just kind of have this on memory. I grab the back edges down lower part of the skull, pull them back. B, bigger selections to soft select to kind of pull that selection out a little bit more. My God, Stefan, your creature's looking awesome. I just saw that come across Discord. It looks really, really good. Pull that out a little bit more. Down, maybe a little bit higher on the peak of the skull. And maybe the front of the jawline, maybe right down like around here, these parts right here. Maybe we could bring those down. Now, if it starts getting lumpy and bumpy all over the place, you have a tool that's called relax. So I'm going to go to vertex mode. I'm going to grab these vertices on the side. Try and make sure it's a nice even ring. What I can do is I can go to R to scale, and I can scale and flatten them all out nice and even. So you can scale flatten things. But what I like right here is quad draw. Go to quad draw. And over here, there's a tool called relax under quad draw. And it's under the shortcut keys right here. You scroll down. It looks like a lot, but it's only 4 keys and 3 mouse clicks. It's your control, shift, and tab keys, left, middle, and right mouse buttons. So just using those 3 keys and your 3 mouse button clicks, you can do full quad draw. And this is a really good skill to have for a junior modeler to do quads and redraw. The relax one's the one I'm looking for. So I think if I hold down shift, yeah, shift is relax. It's going to relax all these vertices and even them out. Yeah, do that again, hold down shift, and you kind of like paint along the surface. I have caps lock on. And then I can switch back over to the regular move tool and bring that in a little bit. B on off. And that's a basic head. Like from this head, if I bring this in, subdivide it, if I hit 3 on the keyboard, round it off, I could bring this head in and I can sculpt on it in Sculpt GL, which I'm going to show you here in just a moment. So I brought out the shape here from the front of the head using the same technique right here across the front of the nose. So I did the same thing. I took the sphere, I cut those 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 diagonal pie wedges off, right? Do it again. Same thing. I don't have my symmetry on this one. Control backspace to delete, F to center up, and then just draw right across. Multi-cut, click, shift to go to center, click again, enter to finish the tool, click, shift, click again, enter to the backside, click, shift, oops, make sure it's in the middle, click, enter. This is the tricks I wish someone showed me when I first learned 3D modeling. I had the worst topology. I had triangles everywhere. I fought with it. I'd add in an eyeball and an ear, and then edges are everywhere, and you fight with it, and it's just really frustrating when you're learning the model. But now I can pull the snout out right here. If you see that part, I can go to the faces here, just like that, and I can W move, R scale. All right, and then I can extrude again. Extrudes here, extrudes there, extrude, W, pull it out, scale, and there's my snout. Easy peasy. Eyeballs, the 8 and 12s. The hand, I went ahead and made a separate hand because the hand was getting really wonky. So I simplified the hand, and I can go into the edges here. You can also extrude edges, not just faces. So if I grab the edges and hit extrude, I can then switch that out and pull that. Whoops. That's really strange. There it goes. And that'll give you, you want an extra edge loop whenever you have a joint. So you want the triangles to be able to crumple and bend and flex. Double click on an edge to go around the edge loop all the way around. Sometimes it'll come to a 5-star and you have to continue the edge loop all the way around. So pull that out some more and scale it in just a little bit. All right, that's pretty much good to go. So I saved that out separately in my outliner. Like make your model kit, make your Frankenstein's workshop, have all these little parts already done, already quadded, ready to go. So when you sit down and make a new character, hey, I got a hand, I got a foot, I got a base skull to play around with, I got an eyeball. All your pieces are over here named. There's the yeah, that's eyeball mesh stock. I shouldn't have messed with that one, I guess. So we'll call this head snout 01 stock. Oops, stocky. The eyes mesh. There's the eyes. Uh-oh. It's the same one? No. Take it out of that. These groups, you just pull out and delete them. Oh, I can't get into that tonight. Here's the eyeball over here. Object eye. Oh, there we go. Okay. So there's the other eyeball. So I'm going to go ahead and bring this into Sculpt on it, show you guys Sculpt GL, and we'll wrap this up and I'll put it into Mixamo. So to do the opposite, Control-Shift-D, duplicate special. There it is. It mirrors it along the axis. And those are the eyes. I'm not going to do the wings tonight. I don't have time. Go to the body, smooth it back out. I made the contact points a little bit easier. Everything's rounded. Everything's rounded. Okay, let's go ahead and let's go for it. So I have everything I need there. Isolate selection. So that just hides everything else I don't need. Grab the hand up here. See if I duplicate it, if it's going to bring the copy down. F. So as I was scaling the hand, it was getting a little weird on me. I didn't like it. So I just made the hand separately. So that way, if I'm rotating and scaling it differently, it's going to align. It's not going to start getting morphed weird. That's what was happening. I had to kind of stop and fix it a little bit. Yeah, the wrist's a little bit taller usually. Depends on what you're doing. Let's do this one, edge, scale this down just a bit more. All right, so reattach that so I can grab that edge, scale it in a little more, and then I didn't show you the bridge tool yet. Bridge is right here, so I can bridge in between. So what I could do is make sure these two objects are the same object. So Control-Shift to add, select, combine. Good to go. Go in here and go to the edge, go one edge. Click the other edge I want to bridge across, hit the bridge tool, boom, connects them together. Magic. This one here, 1, 2, G, redo the last command, that one worked. You see the edge loops off just a little bit there, it's okay. I'm going fast. Just hitting the G key. And that now they are merged together. They're all welded up. So if I smooth it, it's going to get a nice, perfect, look at that. Perfect smooth. Okay, let's go up here to the shoulder. I could do the same thing. I could bridge these together. But instead of bridging them together, let's make sure that we replicate these first. Make sure we got legs on each side centered. So I go in here and delete history channel, D and X, drag the pivot to the center of the world, 0, 0, 0. Freeze it, delete its history, mirror it, duplicate special. Before I do this, I'm going to duplicate these guys, move them up out of the way so that I have, oh, look at that, got error. Missing shader error. How fun is that? And same thing with the body and the head. I'm just going to duplicate them, and I won't go through the hassle of naming them. That this is my little chop shop parts, right? I have a head, we got a body. Oh, look at that, interior faces. Got to make sure we delete those. Back of the head's open, cool. But those interior faces, I warned us, happens every time, man. No matter how many years I've been doing this, I always forget to delete these things if I'm not careful. So grab those, grab more than I need, then hold up, take away, delete. And we are ready to bring this into sculpting and Mixamo. So I'm going to first combine it all together. So it's one model, isolate it. And then we're going to go to vertex mode, and each vertex here, I want to make sure it's on symmetry, object X. So if I grab a vertex on one side, it does the other side, because my model is perfectly in the center line. The symmetry works well. And here we go. So this time we're going to use target weld. So a target, if I grab this vertex and drag it to the target and let go, it welds it. So it automatically merges them together. So I just go one at a time for these 8. 1 leg, 2 leg, 3 leg. Whoop, go too fast. There we go. That is welded together. Go to the hindquarters, same thing. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, right? Boom. Boom. Man, I didn't get caught up in anatomy. I didn't try and make every edge and every angle perfect to the image plane. I got the base mesh done first, then I sculpted. That's the magic here, folks. If you remember to do that, your life will be easier. If there's little puckers, I can get rid of like any like severe jaggeds in the short term. Things that are really bothering me, but otherwise I'm just going to fix it in the sculpting application. And everything will kind of even itself out in ZBrush or SculptGL or Blender. I don't really sculpt in Maya. The Maya sculpting tools are horrible. They're not even worth using, in my opinion, unless they've done some new fixes on them, which maybe they have. But just using the soft select, get a little bit of ridge here. Okay, he's pretty much ready to go. Tail, same thing with the head. I'm beating the dead horse here so you guys know how important this is. This is a 12-sided shape. I go to my diagonals, get rid of, turn soft select off with B, control backspace, delete them, go to multi-cut, and there we go. 1, 2. Oops, gotta go in the middle first. I gotta turn, let's turn symmetry off for right now, just so I click. Make sure, hold on. What did I do? Yeah, when you go fast is when you make boo-boos. Everything's okay, everything's fine, everything's fine. Yes, vertex mode, connect. Seems to be stuck in the front on something. What am I stuck on here? Stuck on stupid. All right, so let's grab it then, freeze it, delete its history. So there's nothing else possibly messing me up back there. And let's go to the tail, vertex mode, multi-cut, and shift to the middle, to the other side. There we go. I'm hitting enter on instead of the shift key. There we go. Okay. So all perfect quads now. There's no weird triangles when we go to subdivide this character. And just pull the tail tip out a little bit. That, make it round that way. F to center screen, go to the side view. Now I can go back onto symmetry X. So if I grab one side, it's going to grab the other side, pull that tail out, grab the top and the bottom, pull those out. Whoop, there we go. I missed a vertex somewhere. There it is. Don't know how, but I did. It happens. So it's good to be aware of it. So do a quick fix here, and that is simply with the click off of their target weld and just target that one to that one. And good to go. Move, whoops. Back to the move tool. Grab these 3 on each side and pull them forward. And grab the corners, grab this corner and this corner. I'm just rounding this off real quick. Easily do this in ZBrush or whatever, but just making sure you know how to do that here. And these long sliver quads, big time no-nos, right? So go to edge, grab your edges, connect, enter. If it's off, zigzaggy, go to scale, flatten it out. Do it again, connect, scale, flatten it out. Grab this one, connect, enter, connect, enter. And I'm just making sure that each of these long quads are not more than a 2-to-1 ratio, or at least thereabouts, right? I can go to the flex angle, like where the tail meets into the pelvis. Probably want one extra edge ring, edge loop there, so that it flexes easy without bending into itself. Same thing in here. Go in here. And just getting rid of all the long ones real quick. Whoa, bad selection. Enter, and maybe the back of the neck. Definitely here. It's going to need to bend a lot there. Edge rings, double click, connect. Same concept. And here's the slide edge tool. So if I want to slide it without changing the arc, double click. Go to mesh tools, slide edge, middle mouse drag, and it'll slide the edge without changing the arc. Super useful. So I could do that here at the neck, double click, W, slide that back a little like that. Slide that back a little. Go to the faces underneath here, B, soft select, middle mouse drag up and down and bring it in. Maybe make that a bit stronger and bring that in. There we go. So now I can use soft select to really start modeling and sculpt. Oh, I didn't attach the vertices. Look at that. Double click on the faces, grabs all the faces that are attached together. The head is not attached to the neck. And I did delete the interior faces of the neck. I did delete the interior faces, double check, go to vertices. Marquee drag the shared space vertices and merge. And then try again. Double click and it does the whole thing. If you double click, it'll grab all the faces that are attached. Okay, so he's ready to go. I'm going to duplicate him as I go, make copies that's pretty solid. I don't have much else to worry about with that guy. I did put a different material on the eyeballs. We do want to make sure all of the faces for the whole model are soft. That's under mesh display, average, that'll soften everything out. You can also do soften edges. And that did not go well. Never mind, let me undo that. There we go, soften edges. Okay. So when I smooth it, hit the 3 algorithm, you can see that the mesh is really clean. Good topology. And it makes it really easy to UV map, which I'll have to do in a separate video. 9:24, I got 5 minutes. All right, so let's do this real quick. Going to duplicate it again, just because I'm neurotic like that. I want to keep the models that's working well together. Looks like the eyes are falling off that one. Oh, what happened? Oh, I missed the eyes somehow. Funny. All right, let's keep that one. This one got eyeballs still? It does. Okay, good. Okay, so isolate again. So watch how fast now I can model this thing. This is crazy. So now I can go, all right, let's, here's my 0, 0, 0 axis point. So I'm going to put them on the ground, make them standing upright, and we're going to load them into Mixamo. Whoops. I'm going to rotate them forward a little bit like that. Go to vertex mode, grab the vertices. Again, I'm using soft select for most of the stuff. B with a nice big turn off symmetry for right now. And let's see if I can do this again. Make sure my tool setting is set to object. Let's go world with it. There you go. Just grabbing the torso like that. And I'm going to use D to move the pivot, and I'm just going to rotate the spine. That and bring it back. And then take away. And then I'm going to rotate it back forward using the same D, just moving the center pivot point around. Oh. And as I get closer to the top here, whoa, I'm going to take away some more of those and maybe make the soft select a little bit smaller. The soft selecting from up there. There we go. And then there we go. So now he's in a T pose. And I'm going to grab the legs. There we go. And turn symmetry back on. And we'll put the symmetry alignment right there. And bring the legs in. There we go. And give him some knees. So basically turning this creature into a biped, just for fun. So you guys can see how it works with Mixamo. Soft select, make it quite a bit smaller. Stuff from the surface, yeah. Okay. Custom object. Here we go. I'll give him some knees. Bring that in a little bit like that. And then go to his. So because it's a lizard frog, the feet are rotated funny. So I'm just going to have to deal with that. Are we losing people? There we go. Forward and up and down. And you'll be surprised, it'll work fairly well. And then we'll bring the head down. There we go. F to center and B for soft select, rotate. Align it at the spine right there. Do it again right there. So I want it there. There we go. And bring the head down. Okay, here we go. This should work. Go to my 4 viewport setting and make sure that my character is center of the world. Last thing to remember. Okay, this looks good. And go to redo the pivot, freeze, delete. Reset the pivot. There we go. And then move it so that it is feet are touching the ground. It's the main thing. You don't want the feet pushing to the ground. So that's going to be right there. And then the spine from the side view, you want to make sure that it's kind of centered up right there. And then put the pivot down at the ground 0, 0, 0. So D and X. It's at the center. Freeze, delete history, and he is ready. So we're going to call this leap glider biped, since this is going to be a biped version to practice with Mixamo. So here's the steps that we want to do for Fred and for Lucas, and anyone else has a digital character they want to try this out for their final tomorrow. Again, I have open lab time. If you want help with this, we could do it in about a half hour or less, probably. Save what I'm doing, file, export selection, go to the settings box, and here's the deal. You want to do export FBX, export selection, and then you want the geometry, no animation, no cameras, no lights, no audio, embed media. This is what Fred and Lucas need to remember. The embed media will put the texture map, embed it into the mesh so that it loads into Mixamo. It's in my scenes folder. That should be good. So we'll call it Leap Glider Biped 01 and export selection. And here we go. Go to your Adobe account. Let's see here. So Mixamo. And it's free. So you just need an Adobe account. You don't have to have any paid for Adobe software. There are other free rigging, and you can actually do, there's a new app that if you guys remind me, you can do your phone, you can get up and capture yourself on camera and do mocap from your phone to your character for free. It's amazing software. It finally works well. And I'm hoping it kind of revolutionize your guys' ability to animate your characters with whatever animations you want, not just what's trapped into Mixamo. So I just log in with my Peralta account. What's going on? Come on. There we go. All right, here we go. So we go to upload character, select a character, or you can drag and drop the FBX file and go to my Leap Glider folder. Oh boy, this is, get it in the same window. Details. The heck, why isn't it? Oh, there we go. Leap Glider, and this is in scenes. Leap Glider biped. There it is. 92 kilobytes. That sounds really small. I hope this works because that doesn't sound right. Ah, there it is. Okay, so it looks like I did them backwards. So I have to go back to Maya. And I went too fast. Yeah, so the blue arrow is facing forward. So I just grab him and rotate him 90 degrees. This is a good error that I made, so you guys know. So you go to channel box, make sure 180 degrees. What do I do to make that it's permanent forward? Freeze transformation, so it's frozen, and then delete history. Export them one more time. File, export selection, save over the top of it. All the settings should be remembered. Replace it, yes. Go back to Mixamo, upload my character, and I hope that's 933 stamp. Update. Sometimes it won't overwrite. You just want to make sure. Sometimes you might have to do iterative like 0102 just to be certain. And it's a super lightweight model. There it is. So next, give it a chin. Check. Give it a wrist. Check. Give it an elbow. Check. It needs to have a neck. We need to have arms and legs for Mixamo to auto rig. It needs to be a biped. I gave it that, and then groin. Tails and wings should be okay as long as they're away from the limbs. You know, if the tail or the wings are like encased or touching the character. You also want to know if you have fingers or not. It'll automatically detect fingers and toes for you, sorry, it'll only do the fingers of the hand. It won't do toes. So his feet are going to look a little floppy and weird. But the texture, the color came across, the eyes are white and the body is gray. So it did remember the RGB colors I put if you want to have the value on there. And I could 3D print this character was the other thing. So I could load this into Unreal, into Unity, make a Maya animated film with this, and bam. You guys see that? It worked. Yeah. And it actually works pretty good. It's doing some funky stuff with the tail, but it's kind of the shape I wanted for the tail. Actually more of a salamander tadpole tail. And now we go next, we have fun with this thing. We go, what was the one we were talking about last night? Capoeira, I can never remember how to spell capoeira. 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 Oh, I almost got us the Portuguese spelling. It gets me. There we go. Dun dun dun. Dun dun dun.
I love this.
Amazing, right? So let me stop there. Stop share, and 9:35. I did it. Phew. So that whole thing, talking the whole way through, took me just over an hour. And oh, I didn't stop recording. I thought I did.